Welcome back to the channel. This is Nicholas from Moralis, and in this tutorial we're going to continue working with objects. In a previous tutorial we went through how we can define objects, how we can store objects in the database, and sometimes you want to change existing data. So you want to retrieve the object, make some changes, and then store it again. For example, we defined in a previous tutorial a monster, saved it to the database, but now maybe you want to get this monster and maybe you want to make changes for it. For example, maybe this monster likes to work out and he wants to improve his strength. Let's see how we can work with this in this tutorial. So let's see here. Let's create a new function, and we can call it I can pump the muscles. And this will increase his strength. So it will take the monster sync as an input monster, like this. And then we want to increase the strength whenever this is called of this monster, because he's pumping. All right, if we go to the documentation, we can see that under the section updating objects, we have this handy function called increment. And this can increase the numeric value of a field. The default is 1 if you don't specify anything, but if you would place another parameter here, maybe you could do 5 or 6, then that's the amount it will increment with. So let's see that how this works. You can also use decrement as well. Like here, like let's say that he is being hit by another monster, then maybe his health will decline a little bit. But let's see here. So we do monster dot increment, and we want to increment the strength whenever he's pumping. So we do this, and then we do await monster dot save. So this will save it to the database, and then maybe we can console log this to the console so that we are seeing what's happening. And then we need a way to do this. So let's define, whenever we define a new monster, we can store it in a current monster like this, just for demonstration purposes. So whenever we define a new monster, we save, after we save it to the database, we assign it to this variable here, like this. So we define a new monster, we save it to the database, and then we assign it to this variable here that we can later access. So let's now create a new button here. So we can copy this, and we can say with this, whenever the user presses it, it will pump muscles. And like that. So we copy the click event of the previous button, and whenever the monster wants to pump, we do this, and we call this. We also need an arrow function here. We call this with the current monster, like that. All right, so let's try this out. So we go to this, and now we have this function, this button. It will not work until we create a monster, because if we click now, we will get an error, because right now the current monster is not defined. So let's define it. Maybe the one pumping can be Ivan, not implying that he's a monster in any way. Okay, we do this. And then we can see in his attributes that he has the strength of 13. And I think that this is not enough. So let's pump. So now let's check here again. And now it's 14. And if we look in the database, refresh, see Ivan here, he has now the strength of 14. And let's press it again. Now it's 15. So it's a really easy way to change numeric values like this, and it's really easy to do. And you can also, as I said, you can use decrement whenever you want to lower a value. and you could use like maybe 5 like that, and that will increase by 5 each time. Another cool thing that you can work with when updating objects is when working with arrays. So here it talks about, in the example, skills. And you can add unique skills. You can add, or you can call it whatever you want, of course, but in this case, it's talking about skills. So you can learn unique ones. If you don't care about the duplicates, then you can use the add. Otherwise, you can use remove. So let's try to implement this in our case here. So let's do learn skill. You can use the example. And we take the monster and we take the skill. And we set this to a new function here. And then we take our monster dot add unique. We add a unique skill and we put inside the skill. So this will check for us if this skill already exists, and then it will skip it. But if not, if it's a new one, then it will add it. So it's really nice. And then we can do like this. So we await, we save it, we log it, and then we check what we have. And of course, we need a way to call this. So let's create here in the HTML an input. And maybe it can have the ID of skill and type of text. And then we can copy this button and we say learn skill, and same here, learn skill. All right, and now we need to hook up this click event. So let's go down here, copy this. And whenever the user clicks on this ID, we copy paste so to avoid spelling mistakes. And then we do learn skill with the current monster, and the skill can be retrieved from calling the skill dot value like this. So we retrieve the element and then we get the value. So let's try this out now, and we'll see how it works. So let's go here, we refresh, and now we can create a new new monster. We can do Nicholas. So Ivan can get some revenge. Now I am also a monster. And of course, I don't have any skills at the moment, so I need to level up my dev skills. So let's learn Moralis. And I press learn skill. And if you now look here at the attributes, I now have a skill of Moralis. And if we look in the database, I am now 2 in the database, and I have the skill of Moralis. Very good. And if I now were to try to learn Web3, learn skill, and that would pop up here as well in that array, like that. And if we check the database, it's true. But let's say that I try to learn this again. Now it will not update. It will be the same because we used the add unique, this one. If we just used add, it will in our case, Web3 would appear twice. So this is really, really good if you want to work with arrays, if you want to increment or decrement numbers. And I hope you can use some of this information. I hope you found it useful. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, and see you guys in another tutorial.